that are found within the cells, and they have many functions. Okay, so the basic function of cytoskeleton is to maintain this the shape of the cell. Okay, as you know, cells, the animal cell, okay, animal cell especially, they do not have any cell wall. Okay, so in order to maintain the structure of the shape, okay, the shape and the structure of the animal cell. So within the animal cell, you have cytoskeleton. All right. So there are three types of cytoskeletons. All right. The first one is the microtubules. For the microtubules, it has the thickest, okay, diameter of the of the other two cytoskeleton. And then for the microfilament, it is also known as the actin filament. It is the thinnest component. Okay. The most common place where you can find microfilament is in the muscle cell. Okay, so it involves in muscle contraction, and then that is one example of microfilament lah. And then the last one is the intermediate filaments. So for the intermediate filaments, it has a diameter in the middle range between the other two. Okay, and then for the intermediate filament, it is made up of fibrous proteins. Okay, you have strands of protein molecules. Okay, that forms the intermediate filaments. So because intermediate filament is made up of fibrous protein, so that's why for fibrous protein, for the intermediate filament, it is more stable. Okay, the structure is more stable than the microtubules and microfilaments. So microtubules and the microfilaments, okay, they are made up of globular proteins. So proteins, we can classify proteins either as globular proteins or fibrous protein. Okay, so microtubules and microfilament is made up of globular proteins, right? So as you see from this diagram, so this is the structure of globular protein. Globule. Okay, the subunit is in the form of globules. So right. So this is for actin filament. Dia kata apa tadi? It has the thinnest, okay, thinnest diameter. And then for microtubule, thickest, and intermediate diameter. So this one, intermediate, is made up of fibers. Okay, fibrous protein, panjang. Okay, dia punya, compared to microtubules and actin filament, they are made up of subunits of globule, okay, globular proteins. So it says here, microtubules and microfilaments form from globular protein, which is bit like a subunit, can be rapidly assembled and disassembled, right? Tapi kalau actin filament, dia tak ada ciri ni, dia tak boleh assemble and disassemble. Dia memang itulah dia structure dia as fibrous protein. Okay. So this is the overall overview for the function of cytoskeleton. One, so it gives cell mechanical strength, support the cell, and maintain the cell shape. Okay. And then so why? Because for animal cell, it does not have any cell wall, okay, to maintain the shape of the cell. It does not have any central vacuole, okay, to cause the cell to be turgid. So what structure can maintain the cell shape is by having cytoskeleton. And then okay, so next, cytoskeleton organizes the cell structure and activities, anchoring many organelles. Okay, so for example, for the intermediate filament, okay, one of the function of the intermediate filament is to anchor the nucleus into the cytoplasm, so that the nucleus will not it cannot freely move within the cell. Kalau awak tengok structure awak observe structure animal cell under a microscope, you will observe that the nucleus is located at the center of the cell. So you have the intermediate filament to anchor the nucleus in place. Okay. And then the third one, certain cytoskeleton microtubules interact with motor proteins to produce motility. So motor proteins, okay, this structure. Kalau kita tengok nanti, you have, okay, microtubules. Okay, microtubules can act as a track, okay, for example, vesicle to move along the track. Kita dah tengok awal-awal chapter 2 ni, you have, for example, transport vesicles that is formed from rough ER. Okay, so rough ER produces protein and then package the protein into transport vesicle. This transport vesicle, it has to move from rough ER to the Golgi apparatus. So how to move the transport vesicle? The transport vesicle will move along the track, okay, which is made up of microtubule, and in order to move along the track, so the vesicle has to attach to motor protein, and the motor protein is attached to the microtubules. So then only the vesicle can move along the track until it reaches the Golgi apparatus. Okay, so that's why dia kat sini kata involve in motility, pergerakan, okay, pergerakan organelle within cell, okay, the movement of organelle within cells. And then the next one, inside cell vesicle, ini sama lah juga. Inside cell vesicle travel along track made up of microtubules of cytoskeleton. Okay, inilah contoh dia. Okay, contoh pergerakan vesicle. And then cytoskeleton also involved in cell division. Okay, so one the microtubule, for example, yang the first one tadi kan, the microtubules will form, it is the component of centriole. Okay, as you know, the function of centriole, it is the component of centrosome that involves in cell division, the nuclear division, the division of cells. And in order for cell to divide, you have to separate the chromosome into opposite poles so that the daughter cell can receive the chromosome equally. Okay, so in order to separate the chromosome during cell division, it requires the microtubules, okay, to form the spindle fibers. Alright. Oh, ini dah ada conteng-conteng. Tak apalah. Saya delete dulu. Ini daripada kelas before. Right. Okay, so it says here molecular motors. Okay, vesicles can be transported along microtubules using motor protein. So this is motor protein. Example of motor protein is dynein, and the movement requires energy from ATP. Okay, so this is requires energy from ATP. So the vesicles are attached to motor protein by connector molecules. So this is connector molecule. Example of connector molecule is diactin complex. Okay, diactin complex. And then the motor protein dynein moves the connected vesicles along along the microtubules. Okay, so microtubules ni dia bertindak sebagai track. Okay, track, for example, to move vesicle from one region to another region within cell. Bukannya vesicle tu tak apa-apa dalam fluid of cytoplasm, dia boleh sendirinya berenang daripada ER ke Golgi. Dia mesti ada laluan dia. Okay, laluan dia adalah diprovidekan oleh microtubules. Okay, so pergerakan tu adalah it requires energy from ATP. Alright. So this is another diagram. Yang ni saya tambah. Okay, so here you have the vesicle, and the membrane of the vesicle will have receptor. Okay, the membrane of the vesicle will have receptor. So the function of this receptor protein is to attach to the motor protein. Okay, so the motor protein will then attach to the microtubules. So in order for to allow the vesicle to move along the microtubule, it requires energy from ATP. Okay, so from this figure, from this diagram, as you can see, so this is actually a vesicle that moves along microtubules that are observed under a microscope. This is observed from axon of a neuron. Okay, axon of a neuron. So as you know, neuron, it contains vesicle that contains neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter, kalau ingat, okay, structure apa nama neuron? Kita ada cell body kan? Sorry lah. Cell body dalam tengah-tengah dia ada nucleus. Okay, after the cell body, you have the long axon. Okay, the long axon. And then kita ada synaptic terminal. Okay, so ini kita ada dendrite lah, dendrite of the neuron. So at this region, which is the cell body, it contains the organelle for the neuron. Kan? Kat situ lah ada nucleus dia, kat situ lah ada mitochondria dia, kat situ lah ada ER, ada Golgi apparatus. So it means that in the cell body region is where vesicles containing neurotransmitter will produced. Okay, but orang belajar kan neurotransmitter are released in the synaptic cleft here. Okay, synaptic cleft released from the synaptic terminal over here. So how to transport the vesicle to this end? By having microtubules. Okay, microtubules that allows the vesicle to move along the long axon of a neuron. So dia bukannya terapung-rapung dalam cytoplasm tu, dia pergi daripada satu tempat ke satu tempat. Mesti ada microtubules, okay, yang bertindak sebagai track, okay, for the movement of organelle within the cell. Okay, next. Sekejap saya tengok attendance ada berapa orang dah sekarang? 50. So this is another added information. Okay, so the role of cytoskeleton, the same as I've mentioned in the previous slide. So inside cell, the vesicles and other organelles can travel to the destination along monorails, provided by the cytoskeleton track lah, kan? So the cytoskeleton, especially the microtubules, will serve as track for the organelle to move from one region to another region within the cell. For example, a vesicle containing neurotransmitter molecule migrate to the tip of axon via this mechanism. Second, the vesicle that buds off from the ER, okay, travel to the Golgi apparatus along a cytoskeleton tract. And then recent evidence also suggests that cytoskeleton may help regulate biochemical activities. Okay, so it means that reaction within cells also involves, okay, the cytoskeleton to regulate the chemical reaction. Okay. So next, this is the detailed structure of a microtubule, okay, of microtubules. So microtubule is basically, it is a hollow tube, okay. Microtubules are hollow tubes, and the diameter is about 25 nanometer in diameter. And then the wall of the hollow tube is constructed from tubulin, okay, tubulin. So they are actually globular proteins, okay. So each tubulin is a dimer. So this is one tubulin, okay. These are tubulin dimers, okay. So, tapi dia exist in pairs, okay. You have the alpha tubulin and also you have a beta tubulin. So that forms a dimer, okay. So you assemble the dimer together and forms the structure of microtubules, okay. So this is the basic, the overall function of microtubule, which is to maintain the shape of the cell. Okay, and then it acts as compression resisting, which is girders, and then it involves in cell motility. Macam saya bagi contoh tadi, it is the component of the flagella of sperm that allows the sperm to be able to swim. okay, flagella. And then it involves in the chromosome movement in cell division. Okay, it is the component of centrioles, okay, that forms the spindle fiber during cell division of mitosis or meiosis. And then it involves in organelle movements. Tadilah pergerakan vesicle tu daripada Rafi'ah kepada Golgi apparatus, contoh. Okay. So next, okay, so example for the first example of microtubules, the function of microtubules is that it is the component of centrosome and centrioles, okay, that function in cell division. So in many cells, it says here, microtubules grow out from a centrosome near the nucleus. Grow out ni maksudnya it forms the spindle fiber later, okay. The centrosome is a microtubule organizing center, MTOC. So in animal cells, the centrosome has a pair of centrioles. Okay, so each with 9 triplets of microtubule arranged in a ring. So this arrangement is known as 9 times 3 structure. Okay, 9 times 3 structures. So if you look at this diagram, okay, so this is the structure of centrosome. Centrosome is made up of 2 centrioles. Okay, the centrioles are aligned like this, 90 degrees to each other. Okay, so you have 2 centrioles that make up a centrosome. So this is the image under electron microscope. Okay, so each of the centriole is made up of 9. Okay, 9 triplets of microtubule arranged in a ring. 9 Kalau tengok kat gambar ni. Okay. Okay, dia ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 microtubules dan dia akan arrange in triplets. Okay, triplets microtubule arranged 9 times. Okay, that forms ring. And then that's why the structure dia panggil 9 times 3 structures. Okay, so most animal have centrosome. The 2 centrioles are at right angle to each other. Each is made up of 9 sets of 3 microtubules. Okay, so the centriole replicate before the animal cell divide. So before animal cell undergo meiosis or mitosis, the centriole will divide first. Okay, will replicate first. Sorry. Okay, so yeast cells and animal cell will not have any centrosome with centriole, but they have a well-organized microtubules. Okay, so plant cell will not have centrosome, tapi dia ada well-organized microtubules that involve in the cell division. Okay. So this is the structure. So make sure you know how to draw the centrioles. Okay, the arrangement of the triplet microtubules arranged in a ring though. So you have to know. Saya tak ingat kalau dalam soalan tutorial ada soal ke tak. Saya check jap. Tak ada, tapi dulu kan soalan yang past year dia pernah suruh lukis tau structure centriole ni. So you have to know lah how to draw the centriole. Okay, so ini yang saya tunjuk daripada lecture dengan group lain. So cara awak nak lukis dia adalah awak tarik 9 cabang. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Roughly lah. Yang ni kan kalau tak sama awak padam balik, bagi dia try to draw it with equal distance kat situ. 1, 2, 3. Kan 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Draw dia macam ke dalam. So nampak bila dia tak sama dia jadi susah nak draw dia. So macam tu lah. Okay. 2. Ni sebab sekejap saya try again and show. You try, okay? Sebab saya lukis dengan mouse, so dia macam susah sikit. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ini saya guna jari pula kan, tapi tak apalah. Tiga macam tu lah. So and then you just attach the last microtubule with the first one attach, something like that. So then you have your microtubules. Okay, so macam tu je lah roughly kan. So make sure you draw the structure correctly lah. Ini sebab saya guna jari. So dia tak berapa nak cantik. So something like that, alright? So centrioles, each centriole is composed of 9 triplets of microtubules. So centrioles are usually not found in plant cells. In animal cells, they help to organize microtubules. Okay. Saya takut. Okay, so the next example for microtubules, saya cek ada yang nak masuk lagi. The next one is the next example for microtubules. Where can you find microtubules? It is the component of cilia and also flagella. Okay, so by having microtubules as its components for the cilia and flagella, so this allows the cilia and flagella to be able to move. Okay, so microtubule controls the beating of cilia and flagella, which is locomotor appendages of some cells. So cilia and flagella differ in their beating patterns. Okay, so cara pergerakan cilia ni berbeza dengan flagella. Kalau cilia, dia akan move back and forth. Okay, so dia ada pada permukaan sel dan dia akan move back and forth to move, for example, fluid. Okay, fluid outside of the cell. And then also flagella, dia punya movement dia adalah it's like a swimming motion. Okay, macam wave-like motion macam tu. Alright. So the beating of cilia and flagella will be different. So many unicellular eukaryotes are propelled through water by cilia or flagella. So for example, sperm cell will have flagella. Okay, so it says here, so as you can see from the diagram here, you have several sperm cell. Okay, and then the sperm cell will have one flagella. One flagella, tak ada sperm yang ada lebih pada satu flagella. Okay, so the movement of the flagellum of sperm is wave-like motion, okay, or undulates, right? Wave-like motion. So proportion of sperm cell is an example of flagellate locomotion. And then for the cilia, the motion is back and forth motion. Okay, pergerakan dia back and forth macam tu, right? So that is for cilia. So cilia, these are example of where you can find cilia, alright. Cilia and flagella can move fluid over the water of the tissue. Example, the ciliated lining of cilia sweeps mucus containing trapped debris out of the lung. So the air that you breathe in, okay, obviously is not clean. It contains contaminant, okay. So the air will be filtered by your hair in the nostril and also by the cilia lining the trachea. So cells of the trachea will have cilia, okay. So the function of the cilia is to trap the debris or the contaminant that you breathe in and prevent the contaminant from getting into the lungs, okay. So and also you have to take note, the cells of the trachea, apart from having cells that have cilia, they also have cells that can produce mucus, and this cell is known as goblet cells, okay. The function of the goblet cells is to produce mucus. So it means that the contaminant that you breathe in, okay, it is filtered by the cilia, and then the mucus secreted will trap, okay, it binds with the contaminant, and then the movement of the cilia upward causes the mucus and the contaminant to be swept upward, and then it enters into the esophagus and into your stomach to be digested. Okay, so supaya dia tak masuk dalam awak punya lung tu. Okay, so the cilia will sweep the mucus with the contaminant and enters into the esophagus to be destroyed in the stomach. Okay, and then another place where you can find the cilia is the cells that lines the fallopian tube or the oviducts. Okay, what is the benefit of having cilia that lines the oviduct? It is to help, okay, the egg or the ovum or the secondary oocyte to reach to the uterus. Ovary releases the secondary oocyte, kan? So dia akan lalu melalui oviduct, dia akan pergi kepada uterus. Alright. Tapi egg ataupun secondary oocyte ni dia bukan macam sperm cell, dia tak ada flagella that allows the egg to be able to swim. So how to help in the movement of the egg? By the beating, the motion provided by the cilia. So cilia tu akan push the secondary oocyte forward until it reaches the uterus. Okay, so that is the function of having cilia that lines the oviduct. Okay, helps the movement of cilia of the secondary oocyte. Okay, so it says here dalam awak punya nota ada 3 point. These are elaborations. Okay, so cilia and flagella share a common ultrastructure. So for each cilia and flagella, what will they have? They have plasma membrane surrounding the microtubules. Okay, each has a core microtubule sheathed or surrounded by plasma membrane. So this is the microtubules. Okay, and then they are covered, okay, by plasma membrane. Why? Because it is part of a cell. Okay, so obviously cell will have plasma membrane. So, but the arrangement of the microtubules that form the cilia and flagella is different from the arrangement of microtubules that make the centrioles of centrosome. Okay, tadi centriole of centrosome, 9 triplets of microtubule arranged in a ring. But this one for cilia, the arrangement is 9 doublets. 9 doublets of microtubule arranged in a ring. 9. So 9 doublets. 2 susun 9 kali bentuk ring. Okay. So 9 doublets of microtubule. Ingat ya, cilia and flagella 9 doublets, centriole 9 triplets of microtubule. Okay, arranged in a ring. So for this arrangement, okay, for the cilia arrangement, they will have a pattern, we call it as 9 plus 2 pattern. So what does 9 plus 2 pattern means? So it means that at the center, here you have 2 single microtubules. Okay, at the center you have 2 single microtubules. So that's why it is called as 9 plus 2. Alright. But if 9 plus 0 pattern, you will have no microtubule at the center. Okay. So another common structure that the cilia and flagella shares is that they will have basal body. Okay, so what is basal body? A basal body that anchors the cilium and flagellum to the cell, to the main cell. Okay, so the basal body structure is similar to a centriole. So it means that the basal body will have arrangement 9 triplets of microtubule. The arrangement of microtubules for basal body is the same as centriole, 9 triplets of microtubules. Okay. So in many animals, the basal body of the fertilizing sperm flagellum enters the eggs and becomes a centriole. Okay. So contohnya, okay, so kat sini awak ada head of a sperm cell. Okay. So this is the flagellum. Arrangement of the flagellum yang tadi tu. 9 triplets of microtubule arranged in a ring, okay, or 9 times 3 structure. Sorry. 9 doublets. 9 doublets, okay. 9 doublets. Ini arrangement dia 9 doublets. The flagella here. Okay, but the arrangement you have to somehow attach the flagella to the head of the sperm cell. Okay, so this attachment is done by the basal body. So you have here basal body. Basal body. Okay, so basal body is here. So So and the arrangement of the basal body is the same as the centriole. Sama dengan centriole. Same as centriole, okay? So which is the punya arrangement dia 9 triplets of microtubule arranged in a ring, okay? So when this sperm cell fertilizes the eggs, ini egg secondary oocyte, so dia yang akan masuk sekali adalah the head which contains the DNA, the paternal DNA and also the basal body. Flagella dia akan tak ada, dia akan tercabut. Okay, so and then this is the nucleus of the eggs. So the nucleus of the eggs haploid. So dia akan jadi zygote yang 2N. Haploid zygote. Okay, 2N. So centriole yang masuk ke dalam this fertilized eggs by the sperm will become centriole. Okay, so in many animals the basal body of the fertilizing sperm become the centriole. Okay. So the next structure that flagella and cilia shares is that they have a motoprotein which is called as dennin. Okay, yang merah-merah tu, tengok kat structure tu, yang merah-merah structure here is the motoprotein or the dennin protein. The function of the dennin protein is to attach the outer doublets together. Okay, is to attach the outer doublets together, and it also derive the bending movement of the flagella or the cilia. Okay. So that is the three common outer structure shared by cilia and flagella. And then another one, ada lagi satu sebenarnya, which is for cilia and flagella, they have this one, the blue structure here. Okay, these two blue structure, which is radial spoke. Okay, that attach the outer doublets with the inner doublet, and also this blue structure here, okay, which we call it as protein cross-linking outer doublets. Okay, so kita ada structure lagi satu kat sini, radial spoke and also protein cross-linking outer doublets. Okay, so these are the common structure shared by cilia and flagella. Satu apa tadi? Surrounded by plasma membrane, and then dia punya arrangement dia adalah 9 doublets. Okay, arranged in the ring, and then kita ada basal body and also the dennin protein. Okay, and also radial spoke lah kat sini. So those are the outer structure of cilia and flagella. So itulah dia sama juga. So this is the this is again the same picture. So the A shows you cross section of microtubules for flagella or cilia. Okay. So dia punya arrangement dia 9 doublets of microtubules, and then you have 2 at the center and then they are surrounded by plasma membrane. Lepas tu ini adalah cross section of basal body, okay, and also centrosome. 9x3 structure. Ini contoh untuk paramecium and also algae. Okay, so paramecium, as you can see on the surface, it will have many cilia. Okay, so this helps the paramecium to be able to swim lah across the water. And then this flagella will have various numerous flagella. So kena ingat ya, kalau untuk sel yang ada cilia boleh ada banyak pada permukaan sel, tapi tak sebanyak sel yang ada flagella. Flagella tak sebanyak yang cilia boleh ada pada sel. Okay, so itulah dia punya ciri dia. Okay. So the next one is for the microfilaments. So for microfilaments, microfilaments that function in cellular motility contains protein, myosin, and also actin. Okay, so the structural role of microfilament is to bear tension, resisting pulling forces within cells. So the microfilament, it is made up of actin subunit. Okay, actin subunit. Again, it is a type of globular protein. So they involve, for example, in muscle contraction, maintain cell shape, involve in changes in cell shape. Ini changes in cell shape, contohnya dalam pergerakan amoeba lah. It forms or it involves in the formation of pseudopodia, for example. And then also cell motility again, the same example for amoeboid movement. It helps the amoeba to be able to move across water, and then also involved in cell division. Okay. So first example of microfilament is it is the component within muscle cells that helps the muscle cell to be able to contract. Okay, it says here in muscle cell thousands of actin filaments. Okay, so these are actin filament. The blue strand, the orange strand here. Okay, are arranged parallel to one another. So they are arranged parallel to one another. So the thicker filament composed of myosin, the blue purplish color here is the myosin, will be in between the actin filament. Okay, so muscle contraction involves the shortening of many muscle cells at the same time. So tengok yang macam apa kat sini ni, we call it as myosin arm. Okay, the movement of the myosin arm will cause the actin filament to contract. Okay, so they will meet each other at this point. Tengah ni. So dia akan menyebabkan pergerakan in this direction lah. Alright. So the next example is that involves the microfilament is the amoeboid movement. So what is amoeboid movement? It is localized contraction helped by actin and myosin, which helps or drive the movement of amoeba. Okay, so pseudopodia. So this is pseudopodia, which is cellular extension, extend and contract through the reversible assembly and contraction of actin subunit into microfilament. Tengok dia punya keyword, reversible assembly and contraction of actin subunit. If you look at this diagram, so this is a diagram showing you an amoeba. Okay, so inside the amoeba you have two distinct regions. Okay, one region we call it as the gel or the cortex. Okay, the outer cytoplasm, and then you have inside here, which is the inner cytoplasm, which is soul, the more fluid region here. Okay, the more fluid region here. So the gel region here is more dense. This more dense. Okay, it is more dense. Why? Because the actin subunit yang consists of globular protein kan. So within the region, the actin will assemble together, okay, to form the actin filament. So that's why this region it is much denser. Compared to the soul region, it is more fluid. Why? Because the actin subunit will disassemble. Okay, disassemble and assemble, disassemble and assemble. So that forms the soul region. Okay, soul with actin subunit. So the assembly and the detachment of the actin subunit causes the formation of the pseudopodia. So it pushes the cytoplasm forward. Okay, it pushes the cytoplasm forward and it forms the pseudopodia that allows the amoeba to be able to move forward. Okay, so that is amoeboid movement. So soul is the much fluid region of the cytoplasm. Sebab dia ada actin subunit, tapi kalau gel actin network. Okay, dia bercantum, subunit tu bercantum. So next is cytoplasmic streaming in plant cell. So cytoplasmic streaming is a circular flow of cytoplasm within cell. Okay. So in order to allow within cell, for example, kalau awak tengok kat sini, ini adalah plant cells that has chloroplasts. Yang awak nampak kat sini ni adalah chloroplast. Okay. So kalau ni contoh lah, awak boleh buat contoh untuk awak punya mini project, for example, awak boleh propose a mini project for you to observe plant and animal cell under microscope. Okay, so one type of plant plant that you can choose for this experiment is, for example, Elodia. Why? Because Elodia will have thinner, um, thinner leaf, okay, that you can observe under the microscope. So Elodia, the leaf is green, so obviously it contains chloroplast. So once you observe the leaf of the Elodia under the microscope, you will observe that the chloroplast will move in a circular motion. Kalau boleh cari kat Google ke nanti kan, atau kat YouTube, pergerakan cytoplasmic streaming ni, yang mana boleh tengok pergerakan chloroplast tu, in a circular motion. So dia cantik lah bila tengok dia sebenarnya. Okay, so that the movement of the chloroplast, okay, in a circular motion is also aided by the microfilaments. So the next one is the intermediate filaments. So intermediate filament is a bit different from the microfilament and microtubules. So it is made up of fibrous protein. Okay, tadi yang dua tu tadi is made up of globular protein, but this one is fibrous protein coiled into cables. Nampak? Coiled into cables macam ni lah. So so it is made up of keratin proteins. So keratin proteins adalah protein yang bersifat dia sangat stable. Okay, so salah satu contoh keratin adalah yang found in your skin. The keratin protein that are found in your skin, in your nails, in your hair. Okay, so the structure is much more stable. So the function of the intermediate filament, one of it is maintains the shape sama dengan yang dua tadi. But this one it is to bear tension lah. Okay, anchorage of nucleus and other organelles, and then it involves in the formation of nuclear lamina. Okay, kalau ingat yang bahagian nucleus awal-awal chapter, nucleus kan. Nucleus, so this is nucleus, for example, this is within a cell. So nucleus, in order to maintain the nuclear envelope, okay, in order to maintain the shape of the nuclear envelope, so the nuclear envelope are supported by nuclear lamina here. Okay, nuclear lamina inside of the nucleus. Inside of the nucleus kita panggil apa? Nucleoplasm kan? Okay, so the function of the nuclear lamina is to support the nuclear envelope. Okay, the shape of the nuclear envelope. So ini adalah edit slide. Okay, so it says here intermediate filament yang tadilah sama, range in diameter 8 to 12 nanometer. So the diameter is larger than the microfilament but smaller than the microtubule. So they help support cell shape and fix organelle in place. Okay. So for example, number 1, the nucleus sits within cage made of intermediate filament fixed in location by branches of filaments that extend into the cytoplasm. Ni lah dia nampak yang warna hijau-hijau ni. Okay. So it anchors the nucleus in place and extend throughout the cytoplasm. Okay. It anchors organelles also. Okay. So the nuclear lamina are made up of intermediate filaments. Okay, and then the next one, the last one, example, the long axon of nerve cells are strengthened by intermediate filaments. So axon, the neurons will have long axon. Okay, so in order to maintain the structure of the long axon, it is strengthened by the presence of intermediate filaments. So the next one is for extracellular structure. So extracellular structure, example, you can have cell wall, ECM, and also cell junctions. Okay, so cell wall are only present in plant. Extracellular matrix is only present in animal cell. Okay, because animal cell will not have any cell wall. Okay, so dia akan replace dengan extracellular matrix. Maksudnya extracellular matrix ni tak ada dekat plant cell. Alright, only in animal cell. And then you have cell junction. So cell junction, there are 4 types, of which we will look at later. So it says here, most cells synthesize and secrete materials that are external to the plasma membrane. So the synthesis of this component, okay, is within cell, but they are excreted out, okay, to be component outside of the cell. Okay. So the first extracellular structure here is the cell wall. So the cell wall is an extracellular structure that distinguishes plant from animal cell. So other organism that has cell wall is prokaryotes, fungi, and also some protists also have cell wall. So the cell wall protects the plant cell, maintains its shape, and prevent excessive uptake of water. Okay. Within the plant cell, you will have central vacuole, and the function of central vacuole is to store water. Okay, so in order to prevent the cell from bursting, okay, and prevent the cell from taking too much water, so that's why the cell will need to have cell wall. Okay, prevent excessive uptake of water and preventing the cell from bursts. And then plant cell made of cellulose fibers embedded in other polysaccharides and also proteins. So you have to remember lah, the main component of cellulose is made up of beta glucose. Okay, beta glucose is the subunit for cellulose. Okay, so the cell wall is made up of multiple layers. So you have the primary cell wall, which is thin and flexible. And then you have the middle lamina, which is thin layer rich in pectin that glues the cells together. You need some kind of glue, okay, to attach the cells together. So this is done by the pectin. And then you have the secondary cell wall, which is the thicker, okay, the thicker part of the cell wall. And then you have the plasmodesmata, channels between adjacent plant cell. So these are plasmodesmata. Okay, channels between cells. The function of the plasmodesmata is that it allows substance to be exchanged between cells. Okay, the cells can transport substance from one cell to another cell through the plasmodesmata. Okay, so the next one is the extracellular matrix. So it says here animal because they will not have any cell wall, so it is supported by having extracellular matrix. Okay, so the component of extracellular matrix are collagen, proteoglycan complex, and also fibronectin. Okay, so collagen are fibers embedded in web of proteoglycan complex. So collagen, kalau tengok kat gambar ni, okay, so these are extracellular matrix. So it is made up of collagen, yang the blue, the purplish structure here, and then they are surrounded by proteoglycan yang macam ni. Okay, the green structure here, and then to attach the collagen to the plasma membrane, you have fibronectin. Okay, fibronectin that attaches the collagen to the integrins. What are integrins? Integrins are proteins that are embedded in the plasma membrane. Integrins. Okay, so you have fibronectin that is function to attach the collagen to the integrins of the plasma membrane. Okay, so what are proteoglycans? Proteoglycans complexes are made up of hundreds of proteoglycan molecules, okay, which is a small core protein with many carbohydrate chain covalently attached. So proteoglycan is basically made up of protein and also carbohydrates. Okay. Ini dah cakap fibronectin attached to integrins embedded in the plasma membrane. So this is the structure of a proteoglycan molecule. Okay. So it is composed of protein and also carbohydrates. Protein yang warna purple ni, karbohidrat yang cabang-cabang ni. Okay. So that is proteoglycan, protein and also carbohydrate. Protein core and also carbohydrates. Okay. Aminoglycan, GAG. Example of GAG is chondroitin sulfate. Okay. Okay, so these are the explanation for the integrin tu tadi. Integrins are two subunits of membrane protein. They are embedded in the plasma membrane, and then they will bind to the ECM on the outside and attach to the microfilament on the inside. If you look at this diagram, okay, the integrins will attach to the extracellular fluid, okay, through attachment with the fibronectin, and it is also attached to the cytoskeleton, which is the microfilament inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so this attachment will maintain or strengthen the plasma membrane. Sebab plasma membrane tak ada cell wall kan, so untuk maintain that structure, the structure of the plasma membrane, it will attach to the ECM and it, outside, and it attach to the microfilament inside the cell. Okay. Says here, it is in a position to transmit signal between ECM and the cytoskeleton inside. So the integrin also function in signal transduction process. Signal transduction process yang ni kita akan tengok masa chapter 3. Maksudnya dekat luasan ni contohnya akan ada molekul such as hormones. Okay, hormones ni dia akan bind kepada integrin dan dia akan menyebabkan integrin tu berubah bentuk, dan dengan cara integrin ni berubah bentuk, so dia akan relay information inside cell to do some kind of reaction. Itu maksud dia kat situ. Okay, in a position to transmit signals, right? So the next one is cell junction. You have 4 types of cell junction: plasmodesmata, tight junction, and gap junction. So these are found in animal cell. Okay, animal cell. This is only found in plant cell. Okay, so it says here neighboring cells in tissues, organs, or organ system often adhere, interact, and also communicate through direct physical contact. Nampak istilah kat situ, communicate or interact. So communication and interaction between cells can happen through plasmodesmata, for example, because through the plasmodesmata, substance can be transported from one cell to another cell. Example of substance are ions, for example, or product of photosynthesis, for example, glucose. Kan? Glucose are transported from one cell to another cells through the plasmodesmata. For example lah contohnya. And then gap junction. Okay, gap junction between animal cells allows, for example, ion to be transferred from one cell to another cell. So kita tengok one by one for each one. Okay, so plasmodesmata, channels that perforate plant cell wall. So through it, water and small solutes, okay, and sometimes proteins and also RNA can pass from one cell to cell. Okay, so this is where cell allows substance to pass through, right? So they have continuous cytoplasm, okay, where cytoplasm are adjoining, cells are connected. So maksudnya cytoplasm dia continuous antara dua-dua sel ni contoh. Okay, so plant cell can communicate through specialized opening in the cell wall, which is the plasmodesmata, where cytoplasm of adjoining cells are connected. And then the next 3 is for the animal cell. So you have tight junction, desmosome, and also gap junction. So yang soalan ni adalah soalan yang selalu akan ditanyalah dalam assessment kan. So kena tahulah fungsi tight junction macam mana, fungsi desmosome tu macam mana, gap junction tu macam mana kan, structure dia macam mana, rupa dia, you have to know. So because sometimes the question can ask you to label which one, okay, which one is tight junction, which one is desmosome, which one is gap junction. So you have to know the structure also. So for tight junction, areas of tight connection where membranes of adjacent cell, okay, areas of tight connection between membranes of adjacent cells. Sel yang bersebelahan akan ada tight connection. What is the function of this tight connection? It is to prevent extracellular fluid from getting in between the cell. So these are the keywords: prevent leakage of extracellular fluid substance between cells. So nampak kat sini. So this is cell 1 for example, and this is within cell 2. Okay, so outside here you have extracellular fluid. Okay, extracellular fluid. To prevent extracellular fluid from getting between these two cells, kan? So you have this tight junction. So maksudnya kalau kita nak analogikan dia adalah ikatan lah, benang, dekat kain awak tu. Okay. So it prevents So these are tight junction. And then the next one is the desmosome, which is anchoring junctions. So are points of attachment between cells. It fastens cells together into strong sheets. Okay. And then substances can still pass freely through the spaces between the plasma membrane. So these are tight junction. Sorry. Desmosome. Okay, desmosome. Kalau kita tengok macam butang baju lah kan. So ini kita akan so you have protein here, and the protein is anchored into the cytoplasm through these intermediate filaments. Okay, so you have intermediate filament to anchor the desmosome protein, okay, in place. And then the next one is gap junction or communicating junction. So provide cytoplasmic channels, nampak? Between adjacent cells, allows the transfer of small molecules and ions between cells. Okay, so that is cytoplasmic channel. So gap junction yang ini, it allows ion or small molecule to pass through. So this is the image under electron microscope. Okay, tight junction. Ini. Okay, tight junction. And then desmosome, and then you have intermediate filaments that anchors the desmosome into the cytoplasm, and then you have the gap junction that allows ion to pass through. So kita take 2 minutes of break sekejap. Okay. Kalau ada nak tanya soalan. Okay, sambung semua. Alright, so we are going to continue with animal tissues and also plant tissues. Okay, specialized animal tissues and plant tissues. So these are the second to last subtopic of this chapter. Okay, so it says here cells undergo cell differentiation and become specialized in structure and function. So it means here every cells in your body will have different structure and different function. Okay, so unless cell tu daripada tissue yang sama, so they will have the same shape and the same function. Okay, so cells of different tissues will have different structure and function. Okay, so tissues are groups of cells with similar appearance and common function. Okay, so different tissues have different structure to suit their functions. So for example, you have 4 categories of animal tissues: epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscle tissues, and also nervous tissues. So kita akan tengok satu-satu. So the first one is epithelial tissues. So for the epithelial tissue, it covers the outside of the body and lines the organ and cavities within the body. Okay, covers the outside of the body. So it means that your skin is also made up of epithelial tissues. Organ linings of cavity, it means that your digestive tract, okay, digestive tract, starting from the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, anus, rectum, anus semua tu, are lined with epithelial tissues. Okay, and then lines the organ. Okay, for example, organ, your lungs. Okay, your lungs are also lined with the epithelial tissues. Your lung contains, for example, alveolus. Okay, so the alveolus is made up of epithelial cells, okay, which is very thin layer of cells, okay, that allows the diffusion of gas, right? So it contains cells that are closely joined. So the shape of the epithelial cells may be squamous. Squamous, it means that it is flat, okay, squished, contohnya flat, cuboidal, cube shape, and then columnar, panjang. Okay. So the arrangement of epithelial cells may be simple, which is one layer, stratified, multiple layers, and then pseudo-stratified. It means that it only has one layer, but it seems to have many layers. So nanti macam mana tu kita tengok okay, so this shows you an organism, a wolf, okay, with different organs inside shown, and then with different cells of epithelial cells or tissues, okay. So kalau tengok kat sini, stratified, it means many layers, okay. Squamous, it means that the shape of the cell is flat. So this is it forms the lining of the oral cavity, for example. Okay, your oral cavity will have many layers of cell that are flattened in shape. Okay, and then kat sini you have pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. So you have shape of the cell with varying height. Okay, but it is actually one layer of cell. So nampak kat sini ada sel yang pendek, ada yang panjang, ada yang sederhana, tinggi, macam tu lah kan. So it is actually one layer, but it seems to have many layers. That is what it meant by pseudo-stratified. Okay, pseudo-stratified. And then here you have simple squamous epithelium. Simple, one layer, squamous, cells that are flat in shape. Okay, so this, for example, you can find in the lining of the alveolus, the wall of the alveolus in the lung. And then you have next one is simple columnar epithelium, which is lining the small the intestine, basically one layer of cell that is long in shape, okay, in the intestine. And then you have a cuboidal epithelium, which is the nephron within the kidney here. Okay, the nephron within the kidney is made up of cuboidal epithelium. So this one, as you can see, it allows, it is basically one cell thick, okay, that allows the diffusion of water and also ions that occurs in the kidney, okay, for absorption and reabsorption process, secretion process, okay. So kita tengok satu-satu. So simple squamous epithelium, simple one layer, squamous flat, the shape that are the shape of the cell that is flat, okay, squamous, squish, okay. So cells are flat and arranged in a single layer. So this allows diffusion of and passage of materials. So where can you find? Air sac of lungs and lining of blood vessels. Air sacs of lung is referring to the alveolus. Okay, so the alveolus, it must be one cell thick, one layer. Okay, this is to allow diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide across the alveolar wall. Okay. And then lining of blood vessels. So you have 3 types of blood vessels actually. You have the blood capillaries, the arteries, and the veins. Okay, so these 3 blood vessels are lined with simple squamous epithelium on the inside. Especially kalau kita concentrate pada blood capillaries. So blood capillaries, it is only one cell thick. The wall of the blood capillaries is only one cell thick. Why? Because it allows the diffusion of gas, okay, across the blood and into the cell, and also it allows the diffusion of nutrients from blood into your body cells. So that's why it needs to be only one cell thick for the blood capillaries. Tapi kalau untuk artery dengan vein, dia akan ada lagi 2 layer. So maksudnya artery dengan vein akan ada 3 layers of tissues. Itu yang kita akan tengok nantilah chapter SEM depan. Okay, dalam chapter cardiovascular, alright, in semester 2. And then next is simple columnar epithelium. So the large brick-shaped cells, okay, dia panjang-panjang macam ni. So found where secretion or active absorption is important. So you can find it in the intestine, secreting digestive juices and also absorbing nutrients. So as you know, the function of the intestine, it involves in the secretion of enzymes and secretion of enzyme. The small intestine can, the wall of the small intestine can secrete enzyme also to help in the breakdown of food into its monomer. So once the food is broken down into its monomer, then the small intestine can absorb the nutrients across the wall and into the blood vessels, okay, to be distributed throughout the body. So that's why the intestine will have this type of cell, simple columnar epithelium that involve in secretion and absorption. Secrete enzyme, absorb nutrients. Okay. The next one is simple cuboidal epithelium. So dia punya shape dia kat sini awak nampak dia adalah bentuk dice lah, kan? Square macam ni, okay? Cuboidal cube, okay? So and then it is specialized for secretion. So secretion process occurs in the kidney, alright? Found in kidney tubules and also many glands, including thyroid glands and also salivary glands. Thyroid glands and also salivary glands. Thyroid produces hormones and the hormone is secreted into the blood. Salivary gland produces amylase and the amylase is secreted into your oral cavity. So that's why it is composed of this type of cell, simple cuboidal. Process secretion also occurs in the nephrons. Okay. Yang proses ni kita tengok lagi detail masa semester 2 lah. Saya tak terang kat sini macam mana secretion dalam kidney berlaku. Okay. And then the next one is stratified squamous epithelium. So as you can see, stratified is multiple layer, many layers of cells. Okay. And dia punya ciri dia, characteristics dia, the characteristics of the cell is that it will regenerate rapidly. Okay. So it says here new cells formed by division near the basal surface. Okay, new cells are formed at the basal surface here. Okay, and then push outwards. Okay, replacing cells that are slouched off. So these are cells at the surface that have the tendency to be slouched off. Why? Because at the surface of the tissue here, it is exposed to, for example, condition that causes the cell to be easily slot off lah. Contohnya the outer skin and lining of mouth. Okay, your mouth the lining of your mouth can easily be replaced by the new cells. Okay, and also anus and also vagina and also actually inside your stomach. Okay, your stomach also has what hydrochloric acids. Okay, so the hydrochloric acid will cause the cell at the surface to be easily damaged, and the damaged cell can be replaced by this method. Okay, regenerate new cells. And then the next one is pseudostratified. So consists of single layer of cells of varying size. Okay, ada yang pendek, ada yang panjang, ada yang sederhana, macam itulah. So pseudostratified epithelium of ciliated cells form a mucous membrane lines the respiratory tract. Okay, the trachea lah. So the cells of the trachea will have cilia. And then dia punya arrangement of the cell is pseudostratified. Okay, columnar. So for other example, BT cilia sweeps mucus along the surface lah. Macam yang saya cerita tadi tu, sweeps mucus containing contaminant upward out of the trachea and enter into the esophagus. Okay. Arrangement tube awak dalam area leher ni adalah kat depan ada trachea, dekat belakang ada esophagus dan dia bersambung dengan satu kawasan kita namakan dia sebagai pharynx. Okay, pharynx. So dia akan sweep mucus upward, enter into the pharynx and enter into the esophagus and into the stomach to be digested. And then the next one is glands. Okay, you have to know what are glands. So glands are specialized epithelial tissues. So you have three example here. Goblet cells. Okay, three types goblet cells. So what are goblet cells? They are unicellular exocrine glands that secrete mucus. Where can you find goblet cells? They are found in the cells of lining the trachea, which is function to produce mucus to trap the contaminant. Please, yang lain boleh jumpa goblet cells adalah lining of the stomach. Okay, your stomach produces hydrochloric acids, which is very acidic. So the acidic condition can cause the cells lining the stomach to be easily damaged. Sekejap ya. Hello. Okay. So easily damaged. Okay. So inside the stomach, you will have goblet cells that secrete mucus and prevents the lining of the stomach from being damaged by the acid condition of the hydrochloric acid inside the stomach. Okay. And then the next one is exocrine glands. So exocrine glands, what does it do? It secretes product through a duct onto exposed epithelial surface. Contoh exocrine glands yang paling senang adalah salivary glands, can secretes amylase into ducts and then secreted into your oral cavity, epithelial surface, kan tadi? Ataupun the pancreas. So pancreas is another type of exocrine gland. Why? Because the pancreas is involved in the production of digestive enzyme. Okay, digestive enzyme, trypsin, lipase, amylase. Okay, so these the product of the pancreas, which is the enzyme, is produced and secreted by the pancreas into a duct and enter into duodenum. Okay, kat mana fungsi enzim ni akan berlaku lah. Okay, to digest food. Okay. And then the next one is endocrine glands. So endocrine glands are glands that produces hormones. Itu je. Okay, hormones into interstitial fluid or blood. Maksudnya kalau endocrine glands ni, dia adalah organ yang akan hasilkan hormon and secrete straight into your bloodstream. Dia tak ada ducts. Ducts tu apa? Saluran kan? So dia tak ada saluran untuk hormon tu lalu. Dia just straight into the interstitial fluid and into the blood. Contohnya adalah contoh endocrine glands adalah contohnya, okay, kat sini kan gambar, right? Okay, so in your brain you have a structure, we call it as the hypothalamus. Okay, so hypothalamus can secrete many enzymes. So can secrete many hormones. One of the hormones kita panggil dia sebagai GnRH, human gonadotropin hormone. Okay, hormon ni dihasilkan dekat hypothalamus dalam awak punya brain. Tapi kat mana dia punya target organ dia? Target organ dia salah satunya adalah dekat ovary. Jauh kan brain dengan ovary kan? So the hypothalamus will produce the GnRH and the hormone will enter straight into the blood to be travel across the blood until it reaches the target organ, which is the ovary. Itu contoh lah. So that's why endocrine will secrete the hormone straight into the blood. Okay, untuk dia cari dia punya target organ dia. Setiap hormon akan dihasilkan oleh gland yang spesifik, tapi dia punya organ dia ada jauh dengan dia. Ada jauh daripada gland yang dihasilkan tu. So dia kena transport via the blood lah. Okay. So ini contoh gambar lah. So goblet cells, contoh unicellular exocrine gland, right? In this case, it produces mucus, and then you have the sweat gland produces sweat out onto the surface of the skin, and then you have parotid salivary glands to produce saliva. Okay, that contains amylase, for example. Okay. The next one is connective tissues. Mainly binds and support other tissues. So it is made up of three elements, which is the ground substance, can be fluid, jelly-like, or solid. And then the fibers and also cell. Fibers can be collagen and it is elastic. And then cells can be example fibrocytes and also blood cells. So blood cells are examples of component within the blood. And then the blood is an example of connective tissue, your blood. Okay, your blood contains many components, and one of the component is blood cells. Another component of blood, you have plasma. Plasma adalah contoh extracellular matrix, okay, in blood. Okay, so extracellular matrix consists of fibers embedded in ground substance. Okay, can be fluid lah. So contohnya plasma. So plasma in blood is fluid, right? Okay. So these are connective tissues. So you have loose connective tissues, fibrous connective tissues, loose contohnya antara skin dengan awak punya muscle and also bone. Okay. And then fibrous connective tissues, the one here shown is tendon. Okay, tendon that connects the muscle to bone. And then you have the bone itself, so which is an example of connective tissues. And then adipose tissue to store fats. And then cartilage, okay, cartilage here that connects, that is in between bones, okay. And then you have blood. Okay, so blood consists of plasma, which is the extracellular matrix of blood. And then the cell of the blood, you have white blood cells, red blood cells, and also platelets. Okay. So satu-satu kita tengok, okay, loose connective tissue, it is most widespread. It binds epithelia to underlying tissue and holds organ in place. So your skin is an example of organ, okay. So it holds the organ, your skin in place daripada bergerak lah, kan. Kalau tak boleh lah gerak-gerakkan skin awak dengan it is to hold your skin in place, okay, found in skin and throughout the body. Contoh lah, okay. And then number 2, fibrous connective tissue dense with collagenous fibers. So it is made up of collagen. So example tadi are tendons, okay, which attach muscle to bones. Okay, muscle to bones. Kalau bones dengan bones adalah melalui ligaments. Okay, ligaments that connect bones and joints. Ni kalau makan paha ayam ke nanti kan tengah hari awak tengoklah kan, dia punya muscle tu is attached to the bone, and between bone you have ligaments, okay. Yang warna putih-putih antara bones tu. And then so bone is the mineralized connective tissues. So you have cells within the bone, which is osteoblast. So the function of this cell is to deposit matrix of collagen lah. It combines also with ions such as calcium, magnesium, and phosphate, okay, to harden into a hard mineral matrix inside the bone. And then blood, okay, blood is also an example of connective tissues. So the blood, the extracellular matrix is the plasma, okay, it is in liquid form. And then you have cells that are suspended in the plasma, which is the red blood cells, erythrocyte, white blood cells, then the leukocytes, and also the platelets. Cartilage, yang ni lah, okay, contains collagenous fibers. So it is strong and flexible, okay. So it says here, skeletons of embryo contain cartilage and replaced by bone as the embryo matures. Okay, so kalau dalam keadaan embryo, tulang-tulang dia adalah cartilage. Tapi bila baby tu besar, dia akan replace dengan bone lah. And then the next one is adipose tissue, specialized loose connective tissue that stores fat in adipose cells. Okay, so the function is to insulate the body and store fuel as fat molecule. What does it mean by store fuel? Kalau proses cellular respiration, awak tahu dia punya main substrate dia untuk cellular respiration berlaku adalah glucose. Okay, so glucose adalah fuel untuk cellular respiration berlaku untuk hasilkan energy in the form of ATP. Tapi kalau contohnya awak puasa kan, awak tak macam pagi ni awak tak sarapan lagi, you are lacking glucose for example, so your body will turn to fat. Okay, that are stored in the adipose tissue to be used as fuel for cellular respiration lah, faham? Okay, so itu kegunaan fat lah yang disimpan dalam adipose tissue. Awak punya adipose cell ni dia sifat dia adalah dia boleh mengembang. Okay, so selagi awak makan dan tenaga tu tak digunakan, so gula tu akan convert dalam bentuk fat dan disimpan dalam adipose tissue. Macam itulah. Okay. So walaupun awak makan kek, ada gula, ada banyak karbohidrat, tapi bila tak gunakan gula tu, so the glucose will be converted into fat and stored into adipose tissue and causes your adipose cell to expand. Okay. So next is nervous tissues. Okay, so the nervous tissues function to detect stimuli and transmit signal. The signal in this case adalah impulse. Transmit impulse from neuron to neuron. Okay, and then the component is the neuron cell itself, the neurons or the nerve cells, and then the other one is glia cells or glia. Okay, glial cells or glia. So neurons, awak tahu fungsi dia adalah untuk transmit signal, impulse. Okay. So kalau ingat balik structure neurons, dekat axon ada apa? Ada myelin sheath kan? So the component of myelin sheath, kalau ingat, saya sure dah belajar kan masa sekolah. So yang neuron tu tadi, the dendrite and then the cell body and then the axon kan, and then the axon terminal. So the axon are covered by myelin sheath. Macam itulah lebih kurang kan. So you have gap between the myelin sheath. Okay, so this myelin sheath is made up of one type of cell, we call it as Schwann cell. Okay, Schwann cell is a type of glia cell. Okay, so the function of Schwann cell is to function as electrical insulator. Okay, that allows the axon to be able to transmit impulse from nodes to nodes. Okay, until it reaches the axon terminal. Okay, so itu salah satu fungsi glial cell lah. It function as electrical insulator such as Schwann cell. Okay. Okay, so next is the muscle tissues. So responsible for many types of body movement. So the cell contains actin and myosin that allows the muscle to be able to contract. You have three types of muscle tissues, which is cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and also skeletal muscle or striated muscle. So cardiac muscle is the muscle of the heart. Smooth muscle, where can you find smooth muscle? You can find smooth muscle lining the digestive tract. Usus. Awak punya digestive tract start daripada esophagus, perut, intestine semua tu, it is lined by smooth muscle that allows this muscle to be able to contract dalam pergerakan yang kita namakan apa? Peristalsis. Okay, so pergerakan peristalsis tu adalah disebabkan oleh smooth muscle, which is the contraction is involuntary. You cannot control the contraction of the muscle. But the one that you can control is the skeletal muscle. Apa punya pergerakan skeletal muscle kan, you can control, that is voluntary. For cardiac muscle, tak boleh lah, you cannot control lah kan. So the pumping of the heart. Okay, so inilah position dia, cardiac, heart, smooth muscle, for example lining the stomach, okay, and also skeletal muscle that are found in your muscle. Okay, and then okay, so cardiac muscle it says here forms the wall of the heart, striated, maksudnya dia punya muscle dia berjalur, okay, and then has similar contractile properties, and then has fibers that interconnect cell to cell which relay signal between them. So what does it mean? Relay signal, it means that the cardiac muscle is capable of generating and transmitting impulse. Ingat ya, dekat heart dia tak ada the transmission of impulse is not generated by neurons. Okay, it is generated by the cardiac cells itself. Okay, the heart muscle is the heart cell itself. Okay, the heart cells of the cardiac muscle is capable of generating and transmitting impulse and causes the heart to be able to contract and relax. Okay. So this is to synchronize heart contraction. Kalau ingat balik structure heart, awak pernah belajar kan? Dekat heart, dekat atrium wall tu akan ada satu specialized tissue, kita namakan dia sebagai SA node. Okay, sinoatrial node. Okay, so ini SA node ni terdiri daripada sel-sel yang boleh hasilkan and transmit impulse. Okay, so dia akan transmit lah across the cell wall until it reaches AV node, sampai dia reaches at the apex of the heart and causes the ventricular wall to contract. Macam tu lah. Okay, so the contraction of the heart muscle is due to the transmission of impulse between the heart cells tu. Okay, bukan disebabkan oleh neuron. Alright, maksudnya kalau untuk menyebabkan heart awak ni contract, dia bukan instruction daripada brain. Okay, so maksudnya kalau macam orang yang accident and dia ada head trauma kan, ada kepala dia terantuk dengan kuat, dia punya heart still can pump, sebab instruction to pump the heart and causes the heart to contract tu bukan daripada instruction from the brain. So itu dia punya benefit dia. Okay, itu benefit kenapa jantung boleh hasilkan dia punya impulse. And then next one is smooth muscle. So dia punya smooth muscle dia bukan macam heart tadi ataupun skeletal muscle. It is not straighted, dia bukan berjalur. And then found in walls of the digestive tract, urinary bladder, arteries and other internal organs. Kalau artery is your blood vessels kan, so your blood vessels can apa? Vasoconstrict and vasodilate. Constrict and dilate. Okay, so vasoconstriction and vasodilation adalah disebabkan oleh smooth muscle. Sama juga peristalsis of digestive tract disebabkan oleh contraction of smooth muscle. So it means that the movement or the contraction is involuntary. Okay, such as churning of the stomach. Churning tu maksudnya the wall of the stomach will contract, relax to mix the food with the enzyme, with the HCl, okay, so that the food will be broken down. And then constriction of arteries, vasodilation and vasoconstriction. So next one, the last one for the skeletal muscle adalah skeletal muscle lah, okay. So dia voluntary, consists of bundle of long cells and muscle fibers. And then the skeletal muscle fibers formed by the fusion of many cells. Okay, fusion of many cells resulting in nuclei in each muscle fibers. So boleh nampak multiple nuclei, padahal dia adalah daripada fusion of many muscle cells. Okay, so arrangement of contractile units which is sarcomere and fibers give the cell a strap or striated appearance. Setiap muscle cell tu dia akan ada fibers, okay, fibers panjang-panjang yang menyebabkan dia berbentuk jalur tu, okay, striated, alright. So the last one is for plant tissues, specialized plant tissues. So the plant has three basic organ, which is the roots, okay, the stem and the leaves, okay. So each organ is composed of three basic tissues, which is the dermal. Dermal is outside, it functions as the protective covering, and then vascular to transport the substance, and then ground. Okay, ground dia punya basic support there. Okay, so each tissue form tissue system continuous throughout the plant. Okay, so kalau dermal outside kan, it is outer protective covering. It function as the first line of defense. Maksudnya dia akan prevent the plant from being infected, okay, by infection of pathogen, for example. And then for non-woody plants, okay, non-woody plants tu maksudnya herbaceous plant. Herbal lah, macam contoh-contoh herbaceous plant, tumbuhan yang tak berkayu, okay. So they have single tissue called epidermis, a layer of tightly packed cell. And then for woody plant, tumbuhan yang berkayu, they have the dermis tissue will be the epiderm will replace the dermis, okay. Dermis ni asal dia warna hijau, tapi bila dia nak jadi tumbuhan yang berkayu, dia akan replace dengan periderm. Macam ni lah periderm ni, right. Sorry, yang ni, this one, okay. So in roots, water and mineral absorb enter through the epidermis of the roots, the root hair, and then in shoot you have guard cells. So guard cells allows gaseous exchange lah kalau dia nak carry out photosynthesis, carbon dioxide enter, okay. The byproduct of the photosynthesis, it releases oxygen, for example. Okay, so and then trichomes. So this one is trichomes, okay, which is specialized epidermal cell in shoots to reduce water loss and reflect excess light. So this is to reduce water loss, okay, sebab permukaan dia lebih kecil, permukaan yang expose kepada sunlight, okay. So the next one is vascular system, okay. So this is to transport materials, provide mechanical support. You have two types of vascular tissue, which is xylem and phloem. Ini daripada sekolah lagi dah belajar. So xylem is to transport water and minerals, okay, from the soil. It is absorbed through the roots and then until it reaches the leaf or the shoots of the plant, okay. So it is made up of tracheids and also vessel elements, okay, tracheids and also vessel element here. So phloem is to transport sugars. Sugar, as you know, it is the product of photosynthesis. So the cell of the leaf produces the sugar and needs to be transported to other parts of the plant, kan? To the stem, to the roots, to the fruits, to the flower. Okay, so it is through the phloem. So it is made up of sieve tube, yani. So they have pores that allow substance to be transported from one cell to another, and then companion cells, which is to generate energy, okay, in the form of ATP, in order to allow the transportation of this sugar, okay. And then the last one is ground tissue system. It forms the bulk, okay, of the plant. Bulk tu kawasan yang paling banyak lah, bulk, okay. And then composed of three tissues, you have the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, okay. So this tissue can be differentiated from each other by the cell wall structure lah. So kalau parenchyma is living, okay, involved in metabolic activity and they have primary cell wall. So maksudnya sel-sel dia macam sel-sel yang baru lagi, okay. It can carry out photosynthesis because they have chloroplast, and then it function as storage, okay. Because from this chloroplast, obviously it produces sugar and needs to be stored as starch, okay, or oil, and then it also store water and also salts, okay. And then secretion, resin, tannin, hormones, enzyme, and sugary nectar. So they produces all these products, right? The second last one is parenchyma. So it is living unevenly thick primary cell wall. So they have unevenly thick primary cell wall. So provide elastic support. It is flexible and then found in stem surface and long leaf veins. Okay, examples celery stalk. Kalau familiar jenis yang suka makan sayur ke, tahulah celery stalk tu macam mana. Celery stalk tu adalah sayur yang dia panjang. Kalau nampak struktur dia fleksibel kan, so boleh lentur-lenturkan celery stalk tu tanpa menyebabkan dia senang nak patah. Okay. So the last one is sclerenchyma. So have both primary and thick secondary wall, strong and hard because of extreme thickening of the secondary wall to provide support for plant body. So example, shell of nut, walnut and also coconut. Okay, nampak? Thick secondary wall, strong and hard. Okay, pits of cherries and peaches, biji. biji buah cherry tu kan keras. So it is made up of sclerenchyma. So boleh faham ke apa yang kita go through hari ni? Chapter 2 dah habis. Ada apa-apa soalan? Ada soalan? Faham semua? Apa masalah awak memori? Mana Biha? Ni ada tanya.
Yes, ada orang selalu cakap kadang orang fatigue ataupun dia kelelahan sebab memori muscle dia berjinjak macam tu. Selalunya kataan ni digunakan apabila orang macam dia ada respon kepada sesuatu yang berbahaya, something like that.
Saya rasa itu sebab tindak balas daripada brain. Brain awal sebenarnya ada memori kan. So dia akan send the impulse to the muscle.
Oh, jadi muscle tak ada memori lah.
I don't think so. Dia adalah macam contohnya tindakan reflex kan. So tindakan reflex tu adalah daripada apa punya impulse from the brain lah that go straight into the to the muscle. Contohnya tadi apa saya cakap? Contohnya apa? Dalam keadaan yang mengejut macam tu. Muscle awak akan contract. Macam tu ke?
Macam tu lah.
So itu adalah contoh fight or flight reaction. Okay, fight or flight reaction tu disebabkan oleh awak punya gland dekat adrenal medulla kan. Adrenal medulla akan hasilkan hormon epinefrin. Okay, so hormon epinefrin ni akan adalah disebabkan oleh instruction daripada brain yang suruh pergi ke adrenal medulla hasilkan epinefrin, dan epinefrin ni akan pergi kepada seluruh sel dalam badan awak termasuklah mast cell, dan dia akan menyebabkan instant energy to be provided and causes your muscle to contract instantly macam tu. Dalam keadaan fight or flight reaction macam tu lah. Boleh ke? So dia sebenarnya daripada brain awak lah.
Okay madam, thank you madam.
Yang 9+0 system tu kita panggil dia doublets juga ke madam? 9+0 tu sebenarnya dia adalah saya tersalah kolom sebenarnya. 9+0 tu adalah untuk arrangement of microtubules dalam centrioles. Dalam centriole 9 triplets kan kat luar, tengah-tengah tu tak ada, kosong. So dia adalah 9+0. Tapi kalau untuk cilia, dia dengan flagella dia adalah 9+2. Arrangement 2 doublets kat luar, tengah ada 2. Boleh? Okay. So make sure you all kalau tak ada soalan, kalau ada soalan boleh lah terjah je sekarang ni. Tapi kalau tak ada, boleh see attendance. Okay, dah 40 orang. So siapa yang dah IC, boleh leave the meeting class. Terima kasih. Kalau ada soalan boleh tanya. Yang lain boleh leave. Terima kasih. Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Madam,
Ya.
yang cilia dengan flagella tu kan, dia tu jenis pergerakan untuk macam yang sperm tu pergerakan dengan nama flagella tu.
Dengan sel ada flagella ataupun cilia, dia akan menyebabkan sel tu boleh bergerak.
Oh, maksudnya dia macam komponen yang menyebabkan benda tu boleh bergerak lah.
Sperm ada flagella, dia boleh berenang. Kalau parenisium, kan kalau tengok kat gambar tu dia ada banyak cilia dekat dia punya membrane dia supaya dia boleh bergerak lah across the aquatic environment tu sebab dia duduk dalam air kan.
Oh, okay madam, thank you.
Okay.